All right, so we're diving into the Anurag Sagar, the Ocean of Love, which already, I gotta say, sounds pretty intense. And you brought these excerpts about 12 paths. We're here to, help unpack those. And I gotta say, these aren't your typical turn left at the crossroads kind of paths, are they? They seem to be speaking to something deeper, something about spiritual growth. Am I on the right track?
You're absolutely right. The Anurag Sagar is attributed to Kabir, the Indian mystic poet. And these excerpts are like imagined guideposts, each one highlighting a different challenge or misconception we might face on the journey of the soul.
Okay, so each path has a doot, like a guide, right?
Exactly.
And some of these guides sound, well, kind of intense. Like the path of Mritu Andha Doot is described as being like super painful for the soul. Not exactly a walk in the park, huh?
Precisely. Kabir doesn't shy away from the difficulties of spiritual growth. This path, with its emphasis on pain, reminds us that true transformation, it isn't always, sunshine and roses. It's a process, often, of confronting our illusions and attachments, which can be uncomfortable, even agonizing at times.
So it's about facing those hard truths, the things we might usually avoid.
Yes.
That's got to be a recurring theme here, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And we see it again in the path of Twelve Doot, where the guide is actually deceptive, claiming to hold the one true path. This resonates with Kabir's warnings about blind faith. He constantly challenges us to question what we hear, especially from charismatic figures who might be more interested in power than truth, It
makes you think twice about those follow me to enlightenment types, doesn't it? It's like he's saying, think for yourself. Don't just accept someone else's word as gospel.
Exactly. And this emphasis on discernment, on finding our own inner compass, is so vital in any spiritual exploration. Now, if we look at the path of Bishmabur Doot, we encounter another, radical idea, the equality of good and bad actions.
Yeah, that one really made me pause. How can good and bad be the same? Doesn't that go against, everything we're taught about morality?
It's certainly a provocative concept. What's fascinating here is that Kabir might be pushing us beyond, a simplistic understanding of right and wrong. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Perhaps he's suggesting that focusing solely on actions misses the point. True liberation, in his view, might lie in transcending those dualities altogether.
So it's not about just doing good deeds, but maybe looking deeper at the intention behind our actions.
Precisely. It's about cultivating a state of being, an inner alignment that goes beyond external judgments and labels.
It's like he's flipping the script on everything we thought we knew about morality. Okay, so we've got pain, deception, and now this radical rethinking of good and evil, all within the first few paths. And we're not even through part one of our deep dive yet.
You're catching on quickly. And that's the essence of Kabir's work. It's designed to make us think, to challenge our assumptions, and to ultimately awaken to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Well, I'm already feeling that awakening happening, and I'm definitely ready to explore more of these paths. But before we do, let's take a moment to clarify something for our listener. We keep mentioning Shabad. Now, for those who aren't familiar with Kabir's teachings, what exactly does that word mean, and why does it seem to be at the heart of these paths?
Yes. Shabd. It's often translated as word, but that doesn't quite capture its essence. Imagine it more as a divine sound, a vibration that carries the very essence of truth. It's like a current running through all of creation, connecting us to the divine source.
So it's not just about the words we speak or hear, but something more profound, something that resonates on a deeper level.
Exactly. And for Kabir, connecting with this shab, this inner sound, is the ultimate goal. It's about moving beyond the illusions of the mind and tapping into a direct experience of truth.
So these 12 paths, each with its own guide and challenges, are like different ways of approaching that truth, of finding our way back to that divine sound.
You've hit the nail on the head. Each path represents a different aspect of the spiritual journey, highlighting the pitfalls we might encounter and the insights we need to cultivate along the way.
Okay, now that's what I call a deep dive. And we've only just begun.
And as we, delve further into these paths, you'll notice how Kabir weaves this idea of Shab, this inner sound, throughout his teachings.
Yeah, it's like a hidden thread connecting them all, right? Now, I'm curious about this next path, the path of Andha Achet Doot. It sounds like things get kind of tricky here.
Indeed. This path reminds us that even language itself, the very tool we use to understand the divine, can be a source of deception.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, the text describes Andha Achet Doot as a barber who keeps souls trapped in illusion through words. Imagine someone using eloquent language, perhaps even quoting scriptures, but their true intention is to manipulate and control.
Oh, wow. It's like that saying, don't believe everything you read. But in this case, it's more like, don't believe everything you hear, especially when it comes to, spiritual matters.
Exactly. And this connects back to the path of Chipeng Doot, where we talked about blind faith. Kabir seems to be urging us to develop a discerning ear, to listen not just to the words themselves, but to the energy behind them, the intention of the speaker.
So it's about like paying attention to the whole package, not just the shiny wrapping paper.
Precisely. Now, speaking of misleading appearances, let's move on to the path of Manbhang Doot. Here, the guide claims that his way is the original path to enlightenment. What do you make of that?
Well, it sounds a bit egotistical, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's saying my way or the highway. And that kind of exclusivity seems to go against everything we've seen of Kabir so far.
You're picking up on something crucial here. Kabir often used these paths to highlight the dangers of ego, especially within spiritual pursuits. The idea that one path is inherently superior to another can lead to division and conflict rather than unity and understanding.
Right. Yeah. It's like he's saying, like, don't get so caught up in finding the right path that you miss the whole point of the journey.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that there are many paths up the mountain, and ultimately they all lead to the same destination, that connection with the divine sound, with Shabd.
Okay. So we've got deception, ego. Are there any other, like, pitfalls Kabir warns us about on these paths?
Well, consider the path of Manbhang Doot. Here, Kabir seems to be critiquing the overemphasis on rituals and outward appearances.
So it's not enough to just go through the motions.
Precisely. Manbhang Doot emphasizes the importance of inner transformation over external practices. It's about cultivating a genuine connection with the divine, rather than simply adhering to rituals or dogmas.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, like, don't just talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. But in this case, it's about finding your own way to walk the path.
Exactly. And this brings us to another important point, the role of discernment in navigating these paths.
Right, because if there's no one right way, how do we know which direction to take?
That's where Kabir's emphasis on inner wisdom comes in. He believed that each of us has a spark of the divine within, and by connecting with that inner truth, we can navigate these challenges and find our own unique path.
So it's not about, blindly following a set of rules, but about cultivating that inner compass, that connection with Shabd to guide us.
You've got it. Now, as we explore the remaining paths, notice how Kabir continues to emphasize this idea of inner guidance, of moving beyond external appearances to discover the truth that lies within.
Well, I'm ready to keep exploring. And speaking of appearances, this next path, Manbhang Doot, seems to deal with the deceptive nature of beauty.
Indeed. Manbhang Doot is described as enticing souls with shimmering appearances, leading them away from the divine. This could be interpreted as the allure of worldly possessions, superficial relationships, or even fleeting pleasures that ultimately distract us from our true purpose.
So it's like a siren song luring us toward the rocks of distraction.
Exactly. It's a reminder to look beyond the superficial and seek the lasting beauty of the divine, that which nourishes our souls rather than merely our senses.
It makes you think about all the things we chase after in life, thinking they'll bring us happiness, only to find that they leave us feeling, empty.
Precisely. Now, this theme of deception and the importance of discernment takes another turn in the path of Chipeng Doot.
Didn't we already talk about that one?
We touched on it earlier, but there's another layer to uncover. Remember, Chipeng Doot is the guide who claims that dawn is the true path and even proclaims himself to be Brahma.
Oh, yeah, the one who tries to borrow authority by name dropping. Right?
Exactly. Kabir seems to be highlighting the dangers of dogma and blind faith. It's a warning against surrendering our critical thinking to charismatic figures who may not have our best interests at heart.
Like those cults where the leader claims to have all the answers and demands unquestioning loyalty?
Precisely. Kabir encourages us to think for ourselves, to question everything, and to ultimately arrive at our own understanding of truth.
So it's not about blindly accepting someone else's word as gospel, but about, engaging with these teachings, asking questions, and finding our own inner resonance with
Yeah,
truth.
you're getting it. And this active engagement is crucial as we move through these paths and encounter a variety of figures and teachings, each offering a different perspective on the journey to enlightenment.
As we enter the final stretch of our exploration of these 12 paths, I'm struck by how Kabir seems to be like challenging us at every turn, like urging us to question everything and really think for ourselves.
That's the beauty of his work, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about spoon-feeding answers, but about, sparking that fire of inquiry within us. Now, speaking of questioning assumptions, let's look at the path of Manbhang Doot. This one really caught my eye because it seems to blur the lines between different religious traditions.
Oh, how so?
Well, Manbhang Doot is described as drawing from both the Quran and the Vedas, essentially creating a blend of different scriptures to establish his path. Kabir, it seems, wasn't interested in religious exclusivity. He recognized that truth can be found in various forms, even in seemingly contradictory teachings.
It's like he's saying, don't get so caught up in the labels and doctrines that you miss the underlying wisdom. Instead of focusing on the differences, he's looking for the common threads.
Exactly. Kabir's message transcended religious boundaries. He was more interested in the essence of spirituality, that direct connection with the divine, regardless of the path one chooses to get there.
That's a refreshing perspective, especially in a world that often feels so divided by religious beliefs.
Indeed. And this brings us back to a central theme we've been exploring, the importance of finding our own path, our own unique resonance with truth. Kabir, he reminds us that ultimately it's not about adhering to a specific dogma, but about cultivating that inner connection with Shabd.
It's about tuning into that inner sound, that vibration of truth that runs through like all of creation, right?
Right.
Now, before we get to the last couple paths, I have to circle back to something we talked about earlier, this idea of good and bad actions being considered equal.
Yes. The path of Bishmabur Doot, it's certainly a radical concept, one that challenges our conventional notions of morality. But perhaps that's the point to push us beyond those, dualistic ways of thinking.
Because if we're always caught up in judging actions as good or bad, right or wrong, are we really, really free to connect with that deeper truth, that inner sound?
That's a profound question, and one that Kabir seems to be inviting us to ponder. Maybe true liberation lies in transcending those judgments altogether, in recognizing a higher truth that exists beyond our limited human perspective.
Okay, now my mind is really spinning. So
Yeah.
if we shift our focus away from like labeling actions, what are we left with? What becomes the guiding principle?
Perhaps it's about aligning ourselves with that inner sound with Shab. When we're connected to that source, our actions naturally flow from a place of love, compassion, and understanding.
Yeah, it's like that saying, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. If we change our inner state, our actions naturally follow.
Precisely. And as we cultivate that inner alignment, we move closer to that state of liberation that Kabir speaks of, a state where we're no longer bound by the illusions of the mind or the judgments of the ego.
Okay, so we've still got two paths left, Durdani Doot and Hansmuni Doot. What insights do these final guides offer?
Well, Durdani Doot seems to emphasize the importance of surrender, of trusting in a higher power.
Interesting. So after all this talk about finding our own path, it seems like there's still a role for guidance for trusting something beyond ourselves.
Yes, but it's not about blindly following a guru or giving away our power. A true guide, in Kabir's view, doesn't impose their beliefs, but helps us to uncover our own inner truth.
It's like they're holding a lantern to illuminate the path, but we're the ones who have to walk it.
Exactly. And finally, we come to Hansmuni Doot, who speaks of the cyclical nature of existence, the idea that souls are constantly reborn into this world.
And he even mentioned souls being born already bearing the name Kabir.
Yeah.
What's that about? Destiny, reincarnation. It's it's like he's hinting at something beyond the linear progression of time.
And that's where Kabir leaves us, with a sense of mystery, of wonder, of possibilities that extend beyond our current understanding. He doesn't offer, concrete answers, but rather he invites us to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deeper into the mysteries of existence.
As we've journeyed through these 12 paths, it's struck me that Kabir's message is incredibly relevant, even today. His emphasis on critical thinking, questioning dogma, and finding our own path feels more important than ever.
Absolutely. In a world, saturated with information, it's easy to get swept away by the latest trends, or to blindly follow charismatic figures. Kabir reminds us to look within, to trust our own inner compass, and to ultimately find our own unique resonance with truth.
It's about tuning into that inner sound, that ashab, and letting it guide us on our journey.
Precisely.
Well said. And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Kabir's 12 paths. It's been an illuminating journey, one that I hope will continue to spark conversations and inspire further exploration.
The journey of self-discovery is an ongoing one, and Kabir's teachings offer a timeless guide for anyone seeking a deeper understanding of themselves and the universe we inhabit.
Indeed. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep listening for that inner sound that guides us all.